This country is traumatized. My generals are begging me to occupy Cairo. Sharon is like a dog on the leash.
If you do that, you'll be on your own. Israel's long-term interests will not be served by a fracturing of our relationship, Golda. Sadat has already agreed to the terms of the ceasefire.
Oh, of course he has. He's on the brink of defeat. It will give him a chance to regroup. You are the only person in the world who could possibly understand what I'm going through.
Yes, I know how you feel, but we need a ceasefire.
I thought we were friends, Henry.
We will always protect Israel.
Like you did in 48? We had to get our weapons from Stalin. Stalin! Our survival is not in your gift. If we have to, we will fight alone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of our podcast, Conversations with B'rith. I'm CEO Dan Mariaschin. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to Conversations with B'rith wherever you get your podcasts. And please rate us, too. We always appreciate the feedback. And of course, you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel and like us on Facebook for all of our latest content. My guest today is Guy Nattiv, the director of the deeply anticipated film Golda. The movie focuses on a short period in the tenure of Israel's first and only female prime minister, Golda Meir. It's 1973, inside the tense 19 days of the Yom Kippur War. Helen Mirren plays Golda Meir as she confronts the very real existential threats to Israel. Her actions and decisions during this time cloud her legacy. After the surprise attack on Israel during the holiest day of the Jewish year, Yom Kippur. It leaves her top military advisors asleep at the switch, taken by surprise, and seemingly complacent. Israel native director Guy Nattiv is an Academy Award-winning filmmaker. His first American short film, Skin, won the 2019 Academy Award for Best Live Action Short and played at more than 300 festivals around the world. He's only the second Israeli to win an Academy Award. The feature version of Skin premiered at the 2018 Toronto International Film Festival, where it won a Critics' Prize. He recently finished production on the historic project Tatami, a political sports thriller that he co-directed with Cannes Best Actress winner Zahar Amir Ebrahimi, marking the first cinematic collaboration between an Israeli and an Iranian director. In Israel, Guy Nattiv wrote and directed 3 features. He now lives in Los Angeles with his wife, who is also his producing partner. Guy Nattiv was an infant during the Yom Kippur War, but he carries deeply the impact it had on his family and on the country. Guy, welcome to the B'rith podcast. Thank you for being with us today. We know how busy you are getting the word out about this remarkable film and this important chapter in Israel's history. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So the first question, I guess, is one that you get a lot, but we have to ask the question, what was it that drew you to direct this film? Was it the 50th anniversary of the Yom Kippur War, the subject herself, Golda Meir, one of modern Israel's greatest leaders, or both?
Well, I'm from the children of 73. I was born into this war. My mother actually ran to the shelter with me as a baby. My father went to the war to fight the war, and I grew up on Golda's story and in the war, Yom Kippur War. There's a famous song in Israel. We are the children of 73. You promised us dove with a olive leaf, and there's nothing happened. You promised us peace. You promised us there will be no war when we grow up. It's a very famous song. So it really reflect on my generation who grew up on war stories of our fathers, and didn't know much about the war and about Golda. And I think it's only like 10 years ago that all the protocols came from the Agronauts Committee, from the war rooms, from the government meetings, that we started to see a different narrative and secrets and lies and stuff that came out. And that kind of drove me to vindicate Golda from the scapegoat she was, because they told her she was, because of she took the blame for everything. She said, it's on me. She resigned. But if you look at things, if you look at the truth of it, she was not the only one. She relied on her commanders. So there's more to one truth. You know what I mean? There's more to it. And I think it was a chance for us to get in under her skin and bring the bits and pieces of her, of who Golda was.
Well, Helen Mirren's performance in the film is simply Golda brought back to us. She's compelling. She brings it all together. Golda's toughness, her compassion, her single-mindedness when it comes to her leadership role as prime minister. How does an actor prepare for a role like this, where one must really get into the mind of the subject? And is there new information from the archives that your research produced that enabled new insights to be worked into the role?
Yeah, first of all, you have to be Helen Mirren, and how she's a brilliant actress, one of the best of our times. She's a legend, so I wouldn't expect less of her, of doing like magic with this. But also, she did her research. She did her a lot of work, physical and mental work, to become Golda. You'll have to ask her more about that, because it was her own private process in a way. But I can tell you one thing: when she got into this trailer at 4:30 a.m. and got out at 7:30, she was completely Golda. The way she walked, the way she talked, the way she was, everything, every bits and piece, every nook and cranny was Golda in her. So I give her a lot of respect for dedicating herself and waking up at 4 a.m., going back to her hotel after we all finished already shooting. She took all those prosthetics, and she gave a lot. She read books, and by the way, she was also very attached to Israel, because she was 29 when she toured the country and volunteered in Kibbutz Haon, picking tomatoes after the 6 Day War, and she slept on Elat beach, and she had this kind of a romantic history with Israel, in a way.
Well, Golda Meir became prime minister in March of 1969. So by October 6, 1973, when Egypt and Syria launched this surprise attack on Israel on Yom Kippur, she's been in office 4 years. Your film describes a chaotic Israeli defense establishment at the start of the war, leading to profound losses. In interviews, you've described Golda, the only woman in the war room, as the only grown-up in the room. Talk about that description and what made her the adult, even as experienced top generals were faltering.
Well, after the 6 Day War, we thought that we are the king of the Middle East. A lot of hubris going on around our commanders, and we didn't see. That's why the smoke in the movie, we cannot see from 1 meter. We cannot see what's ahead of us, and these commanders completely collapsed. I mean, Diane was on the verge of a nervous breakdown, and what I give Golda as a lot of kudos is that she kept her composure. She kept her cool, and she was the grown up in charge. She, in front of those commanders, in other rooms, she was more of a basket case, but she managed to keep it balanced, and she handled it in I would say, more of a adult way, rather than her commanders that were completely in chaos. So that was part of the narrative that we got from people who were in this war room, like Meron Mezzini, her press secretary, who told us a lot about it, and from the protocols. So it was important for me to bring that to the movie.
You've noted that when some important war room documents were declassified in recent years, which you've just talked about, you were really struck with how a sickly, cancer-riddled 75-year-old was able to lead Israel against enemies which outnumbered the Jewish state 10-3. She was, I think that one of the stories, certainly a very strong subplot throughout the film, is the cancer, which most people did not realize was as serious as it was. So in your research, how do you conclude that Golda, the person, accomplished all of this?
I am in awe for that. I mean, she never told a single person other than her assistant, Luke Adar, about her sickness. And, there was a secret operation sneaking her into the hospital, into Hadassah hospital to get the radiology treatment. She told no one. And yet she smoked herself to death, drinking 5,000 coffees, black coffee a day, and basically stay in composure. That was beyond me. I was shocked that it happened.
You go several times in the film, you focus on that ashtray, which has cigarette butts loaded to the top. I gather that the smoking, from your perspective, also represented something else. Was it the gloom that surrounded those early days of the war?
As I said, smoke for me is not able to see from 1 meter. It's a mask. It's a mask of people who cannot see each other, who cannot see the front, who cannot see what's happening. There's so much chaos. But also, it's the tug of war, right? It's the smoke that comes out of the tanks and the smoke that they inhale that poisoning them in a way. So the smoke from the tanks is coming into the war room and coming into her lungs, and the sickness and the cycle of sickness. That probably a metaphor that I used.
When she stepped down in 1974, her reputation was tarnished, but Israel remained strong, came out of the war, fortunately, and you talk about the role of Arik Sharon and the maps and crossing the canal. How do you think Israelis viewed her legacy over these last 50 years? And now, with all of these new documents coming out, and of course with your movie, do you think that legacy is going to show that she's been vindicated? Even though also the Agranat Commission did vindicate her, but this 50 years have passed.
I hope so. I really hope so that she will be vindicated in a way that people will see more than just, her blame, her faults. But Israel is divided on Golda. There's people who really feel that they cannot forgive her, and people that say, "What do you want from her? She's not the only one." So there's a big discussion in Israel. So it's in the midst of it. The movie didn't come out in Israel yet. It will come out very soon, and I wonder. I'm interested of how what it flirts in a way.
Guy, I'd like to ask you, I was in my mid-20s during the war, watching it unfold from New England at that time, deeply concerned about the future of the Jewish state. You talked about the generation of 73. Do you think that the film will impact your generation as it watches a story that they can't really remember?
I hope so, because we grew up with stories and narrative that is different than the movie. And I hope so it sheds a new light on Golda, on the war, and my generation is really like keen of learning, of knowing more. So I really hope so.
If I can just get in one more question. You use real footage from Israeli TV, battlefront footage, Israeli radio recordings to intersperse with the actors themselves. For example, you've got footage of Kissinger and footage of Nixon. And then in the case of Kissinger, you've got an actor who's actually playing Kissinger. Tell us a little bit about how that enhances the message of the film.
I don't know if it's the message of the film. I think it contributes to the authenticity of the film. I grew up watching Oliver Stone's film, and I just met him in Jerusalem Film Festival. And, JFK is one of my favorite films of all time. And it has a lot of those archive footage within the narrative movie, So It's a matter of style. It's a matter of choosing to tell a story, and I thought that it will add to the scope of the movie and to the authenticity of it.
Well, I just use one word as a moviegoer, and the word is gripping. Now, you actually feel as if you're back in the second week of October, 1973, by virtue of all that, not only the acting, of course, but also the other devices that you've used to tell this story. The movie Golda will be in theaters on August 25th. Guy Nattiv, it's been wonderful to talk to you about this meaningful and truly important film. Thank you again for being with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
With sincere thanks to Guy Nattiv, director of Golda, for joining us, and to you for tuning in to our podcast, Conversations with B'nai B'rith. We hope you've enjoyed what you've heard. If you did, please leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and share this episode with friends, family, and others. For all of our latest content, and if you haven't already, follow or subscribe to Conversations with B'nai B'rith wherever you get your podcasts, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and like us on Facebook. This is your host, Dan Mariaschin. Until next time, take care, everyone.